can change the paradigm here, moving from just producing content to creating connections between brands and fans, creating connections between businesses and customers, and creating, and we were talking about Mercedes-Benz, so before they're an investor in our company, they're a big user of our technology. Their industry is changing dramatically over the next few years with the rise of electric vehicles, the dealer networks, which are sustained by services revenues, are going to change completely. So for the first time in its history, Mercedes-Benz is having to look at, how does it build a direct brand relationship with its customers, with its consumers. If you're a rich person today, you get chauffeured around in your high-end Mercedes-Benz. Or imagine the autonomous car of the future, having a digital chauffeur. One of the key concepts here is, how are we as human beings going to learn to trust the machines that we put our lives in the very hands of? So imagine going down the main highway, and there's a dog running alongside of the road. You're in your autonomous vehicle, you have no steering wheel, and your digital chauffeur comes up and says, "Don't worry, Greg, I've seen the dog on the side of the road, I'm slowing down, I'm moving into the right-hand lane, we won't kill it." We're probably going to feel a little bit more relaxed, a little bit happier about our relationship with our autonomous vehicle. So there are a number of key things that we as a company are bringing together to create this future. So you've seen how hyper-realistic these digital humans are that we create based on real people. We can actually now create these hyper-realistic digital humans literally in minutes by blending what we call digital DNA together to create completely new people literally in only a few minutes. We have our digital brain, which creates autonomous animation and brings these digital characters to life. And we have created this concept of experiential learning. So our digital humans actually learn from every single interaction with a real human being. So if you think about how we learn as humans, we learn through life experience. We all start with different biological DNA, but actually what makes us different by the time we're adults is what were our parents like when they raised us? What teachers did we have in school? What friends did we have? Who have we worked for? Who has mentored us? Where have we travelled in the world? What adventures have we had? So all of these things shape us as different individuals. So one of the things that we believe is going to be really, really important if artificial intelligence, or today's version of narrow AI, which is deep knowledge in very, very specific categories, is ever going to get to this point of the singularity, or this point in the future of artificial general intelligence, this concept of experiential learning is going to be very, very important. So today we work across a whole range of industry sectors. So we actually have this technology working with some of the leading brands in the world today. So we have about 30 of our soul machines, or our digital humans, deployed. They're having tens of thousands of conversations across the banking and financial services sector, automotive, education, healthcare, and actually even starting to build, and we'll announce in the next few months, we've just built a digital twin of a famous musician. So you'll be able to go online and talk to this musician and have a face-to-face conversation with them. So we're starting with this. Over the last 3 years we've existed as a company, having 10, 20 of these digital humans having tens of thousands of conversations. Roll that forward 3 years and we're going to have thousands of these digital humans having millions of conversations. And somewhere between 5 and 10 years, each and every one of you in the room will have the opportunity to build your own digital human. Maybe you'll take 10 years off your life in terms of your own digital human. You'll be be able to train them by talking to them and interact, and they'll learn your personality through you interacting with them. And then you'll be able to send them off in the world to do stuff for you, maybe stuff that you don't want to do yourself. So this is a future that we are at in terms of the very beginnings of this era. So we talked a little bit about, and you saw a little bit of Leah's digital brain. Our company is very, very unique in that Mark and my team and his team of researchers started working with neuroscience, with developmental psychology about 8 years ago. And they built a fully autonomous digital baby called Baby X. And if you go and Google her, look her up on YouTube, you'll see Mark interacting with his digital baby in the same way that you'd interact with a real baby. And that's where the technology that we built, we can trace our digital brain research all the way back to key neuroscience research papers. Our digital human has a brainstem or a reptilian brain system, control system. And she has a limbic system, she has a cortical system, so that all of those three control systems can work together to synthesize human behavior in real time. We've just started building full bodies for our digital humans. So you'll start to see very shortly our digital humans learning to play the piano, learning to play instruments with their digital arms and their digital hands and their digital fingers. So this is very, very much a part of the future. We build them in 3D, so they will be able to be rendered in augmented reality and virtual reality, all these digital worlds that we're just starting to create. The tools that we build these digital humans, Digital DNA Studio will be released to partners and customers at the beginning of next year, and this ability to create digital humans literally in minutes becomes a reality. Here are three new digital humans. They're not based on real people. These are entirely synthetically created. This is the beginning of a digital talent agency. As a brand, you want a new spokesperson. You want somebody that can speak not to just the few people in the room here today, but can have a personal interaction with every single one of your customers on the planet. This is the beginning of digital talent. So the use cases are huge, wide and varied. The simple ones: customer care, customer service, digital sales and marketing, brands and digital influencers, which I've touched on, healthcare, education. When I grew up in New Zealand in the 70s and the 80s, every kid in New Zealand, no matter where you lived in New Zealand, you got the same education and the same healthcare. Today, unless you're rich, you're white, and you live in a major city, or you tick at least 2 out of those 3 boxes, you do not get the same level of education, you do not get the same level of healthcare, and that applies every single place in the world that I've ever been. The United States, California, everywhere. So, 50 years on, all of this technology, all this economic growth, this wealth that we've created, and yet we're going backwards in terms of our ability to provide basic healthcare and education to many of our citizens. So think of that, and these are not jobs that these are jobs that human beings don't want anymore. You can go to high schools, 4 hours north of Auckland, our major city, and they don't have specialist science teachers in high schools anymore. Because if you go to university and you study science, you don't want to go and live in a remote rural community and teach high school kids science anymore. So if you're a kid growing up in Kaitaia and you want to be a teacher, guess what? You are screwed. You want to be a doctor, you are screwed. Because you cannot study basic science, specialist science subjects at high school today. So these are the sorts of opportunities that we see that can make an enormous difference. We're working with Dr. Lance O'Sullivan in New Zealand on mental health care for teenagers. We have, unfortunately, one of the highest teen suicide rates in the world. an interesting piece of research. Humans would rather interact with digital humans in any subject matter area which involves human judgment. Really, really interesting areas of research. Imagine in the future being able to have Lewis Hamilton introduce you to the next Mercedes-Benz sports car. Now, not many of us will get to ever meet or interact directly with Lewis, but maybe digital Lewis can introduce you to your new sports car, what engine you'd like to put in it, what colour you'd like it, what options you would like in it. These are some of the opportunities of the future. And if that wasn't enough, just to sort of bend your mind a little bit more, imagine bringing somebody who's dead back to life. We have a project at the moment to bring Vincent van Gogh back to life. You'll be able to ask digital Vincent where he painted the picture, why he painted a picture, how he painted a picture, who's owned that picture since it was painted, how its value has changed over time. I mean, the way in which that changes, our ability to tell stories, completely different. Changing this whole world of philanthropy. I mean, many of our icons in the 20th century are nearing the end of their natural life. Many of them have become absolutely legends in our world in terms of the way in which they have invested huge sums of money in philanthropy going forward. So imagine their legacy, that philanthropic legacy, being able to be continued way into the future, their inspiration going way into the future by digitalising them and immortalising their work on an ongoing basis. Imagine a new era of sponsorship, a new era in the way in which we'll interact with our sports teams. More and more of us don't go to rugby games or league games anymore. Or we might not even watch the games live when they're on TV. Imagine being able to, in a world of the future, go along to the State of Origin game while you're standing in your own living room wearing a headset, a virtual reality version of the game. You can choose where you stand in the stadium, on the side of the field maybe, and you can stand right next to the coach and have a conversation about what play they're going to run in the next at the next play of the ball. These are the types of worlds of the future that we imagine will become possible as the real world in which we live today, the addition of artificial intelligence, the digital worlds that we're busy creating around us will all come together to create a very, very different place for our future. Thank you very much.